morning, everyone. Welcome to another beautiful Saturday morning and another interesting, I promise you, episode of Bold TV, powered by Bold Hearts Initiative. Beautiful, outstanding ladies with disabilities. And today, I have a panel of discussants, and we'll be looking at the topic independent living with special focus on women with disabilities. So today we are going to try and look at what independence means for women with disabilities, how they can, attain this independence, and how their lives can, improve. So, but before I go on, I'd like to welcome our online audience. Thank you for joining us today. We look forward to having you listening. We hope you will take something away from this program, and that you can drop your comments, make suggestions, and just reach out to us if you have any suggestions to make, or if you want to be a partner for this on this program to support us financially and otherwise. If you want to come on the program, you can also reach out to us and we will get back to you. So I'd like to ask my panel of discussants to introduce themselves, and I'm going to start with you, Tomisin.
Thank you very much, Afyong. Good morning, everybody. It's another beautiful Saturday, and we are here again. My name is Oluwatomisin Adeyefa. I'm a visually impaired person. I'm based in Abeokuta, Ogun State capital. I'm a broadcast journalist, a gender and disability rights advocate, and a sexuality and reproductive health campaigner. Feels good to be here. Thank you.
Lovely morning to everybody. My name is Freki Andresian. I'm based in Port Harcourt in River State. I use a wheelchair from spinal cord injury. I'm a public health professional, ED of FAKE, a foundation, a nonprofit organization, and also a member of Bold Hearts Network. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Hello, good morning, everybody. Good morning, my ladies. I'm Osaki Teresa Georges. I reside in Port Harcourt, River State, polio survivor. Work with Fair Care Foundation, member of Bold Heart Network. I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
I'll be anchoring today's episode, and my name is Afyong Etim. I'm a medical lab scientist. I'm based in Uyo. I use a wheelchair from spinal cord injury, and I'm also a member of Bold Hearts Initiative. It's good to be here today. So let's, dive into the discussion proper. So today I'm going to be, focusing on how women with disabilities and in general persons with disabilities can, live more independently, in spite of their disabilities. So my first question is essential to laying the foundation. And I'm going to start by asking each of my discussants, what does independence mean to you? We all have different, perspectives when it comes to independence. For some people, it might be, being on their own. For some people, it might be having some level of dependence, but most of the time being able to do things for themselves. So each of us will be able to speak to this. What does independence mean to you?
Okay, thank you, Afyong, for the question. So for me, independent living has to do with my ability to do self-care for myself independently. Why am I saying this? Because of my journey, my disability journey. It's something that I had to struggle and work intentionally towards. So independent living for me is my ability or an ability to be able to do one's self-care to a great level independently. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Self-care, very important. It can be quite a challenge, especially for those who have mobility impairments, because most of the time, we're made to believe that you need to depend on people for everything. So being able to take care of yourself, I know what it means because it gives you that sense of dignity, knowing that, yes, I can do this one thing for myself. All right, Osaki, what does independence mean to you?
Thank you very much. Independent to me means like having taking responsibility, choice of making decision for myself, how to live the life I want to live, where to go, eat when I want to eat, do other activity without someone like it's time for you to do it now, or If I'm not there, how are you going to cope? Just let me be. Let me have my own freedom of activity. Thank you.
All right. You brought up a key point there. Living with little or no interference. Because more often than not, people seem to think that persons with disabilities are helpless, completely helpless, and can do nothing for themselves. So they don't stop to ask, or they don't wait for you to ask for them to come in. Sometimes there's that invasion of privacy, and it can be quite stifling for persons with disability. It can be discouraging, makes you feel like, of what use am I if I can't even take care of myself?
For me, as a visually impaired person, independent living means that I'm able to perform tasks, carry on with my daily activities, carry on with my life with little or no help from either people, mechanicals, or other kinds of support.
Okay, okay, that's good. For you, it means being able to own your life, knowing that this is, have it like Osaki said earlier, having a choice about what you want to do, how you want to do it, just the direction you want your life to go, and daily, on a daily basis, how you want to be able to manage your time without being the interference of others. And for me, independent, which is something I've recently come to discover, has to do with having a say as to how my daily life goes. Being able to get up when I want to, knowing that I don't have to, inconvenience myself because somebody else's time and, time is dependent on me. Sometimes when you have a caregiver and that person needs to do something else, but because they have to wait on you, it can make it difficult, and it puts that mental pressure on you and make you, increases that feeling of being a burden to others. All right. So thank you, ladies. You really, laid a good foundation and shed more light. So now I want us to look at, the different ways, there are factors, be it stereotypes, whatever it is that can hinder women with disabilities in specifically. What are those factors that hinder women with disabilities from living independently as they should?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. For the fear of being alone is one factor of that can make that will hinder a woman living with disability, fear of being alone, and also over family protection, whereby they won't allow you to live certain things that you know you can do. They want to always assist you and see how far you do it best. Not even trying to make an effort and you fail and you stand, but want to have it and there's a perfect line. So those are my two factors I'm talking about: fear of staying alone and fear of family over protection of you not having your own freedom, your independence of life.
Okay, thank you. So, it starts, you've looked at two areas now: the individual, what's going on in their minds, not wanting to be on your own, not thinking, not believing that you can actually stand on your own, and then overprotection, pressure from family, and I think those two are interconnected anyway, because when the family becomes overprotective, they make you think you cannot do anything for yourself. And so that kind of like, works on your psyche. So, Missing.
I'm going to be tackling it from the angle of my disability. So, and I have 2 points. The first is cultural stereotypes. Okay, I'm from a culture where it's believed that the eyes is the lead to the whole body. So it's assumed that once you lose your sense of sight, every other thing about you becomes redundant. Let's also not forget the label, the gender label, that the fact that you're also a woman, adds to that cultural stereotype for a woman with a visual impairment or a woman with a disability. So it means that people assume that you cannot do anything on your own. In fact, when you try to do those things on your own, it is unbelievable. Even when you do it in their presence, they still feel like, oh, you've got some little kind of sight. People will talk about ojunu, like your inner eyes, and then you begin to picture your inner eyes as probably it's the one supplying you vision and all of that. So Cultural stereotype is a very, very huge factor when it comes to independent living for women with disabilities. Another thing is finance. As a woman with visual impairment, again, because many a times we have to leverage on technology, we have to leverage on third party kind of support. You want to read on your own, you want to write on your own, you want to be able to perform simple tasks on your own. So finance is one thing that also limits women with disabilities, especially peculiar to my own kind of disability, which is visual impairment, from independent living.
All
These things
right,
are
thank you.
expensive to come by. And even when you eventually get them, the cost would definitely tell on your pocket.
All right. Okay, thank you. So you've tackled it from the cultural angle and socioeconomic angle. And these are factors that truly, truly hinder women specifically when it comes to living independently and having some form of independence. All right, Freki.
I would like to speak about codependency and overdependency on caregivers. That's another thing that hinders women with disabilities from independent living. Codependency comes up when, from the start or from during a person's disability journey, a lot of persons have some level of primary or a caregiver, and then we find that we're not able to now do anything without the caregiver. Two ways. The caregivers, I've seen caregivers who do not feel, especially when it comes, for example, if your spouse is a caregiver, I've seen relationships that are born based on dependency. So the caregiver is very sad when you are not asking for help because all of a sudden they don't feel you need them. So they ascribe love, they ascribe that need and that asking for help to love. And we know that they are not commiserate. So codependency and over-dependency on caregivers is another reason why women with disabilities are hindered from independent living. And I just want to buttress on that fear. Fear is another thing that is a great hindrance to independent living. Fear of the unknown is crippling in itself. In fact, fear is the biggest form of disability, if you ask me, because it stops you, paralyzes, keeps you in a position you are stuck. So fear is one thing I've seen. Fear and doubts. Let me add doubts. Let me add doubts to that. Doubting one's ability. I met a lady who couldn't do any form of transfers. She also uses a wheelchair. And I told her, how do you get from the bed to the chair or from movement? She said, they carry me. And I asked her, what is your level of injury? And I found that her level of injury is even low. She's in the lumbars. I said, and they are carrying you. I told her, sister, see what will happen. After some time, you call them to carry you. They will be tired. So I'm trying to put it to you now that you need to learn transfers. And she was complaining that she cannot transfer. How will she do it? And after that, my level of injury, which is in the T levels, and then her under is in the lumbar. And I told her you are lower, so you should be able to move. And that practical example made her to understand and stop doubting and stop being afraid. So fear and doubt is the one I wanted to add that hinders women with disabilities from independent living. Thanks.
Wow. I think when we talk about fear and doubt, we've all been there, we've all experienced it. And I think that's the beginning. Because especially when your disability comes, in the course of life, especially when you're not born with it and suddenly it strikes and you're out of your depth, you're like, what's this? How do I move on from here? It's like you've hit ground zero and you don't know which way up, to go from there. I know for many women with disabilities, this can be very, crippling. Fear is paralyzing. So it makes you just freeze like a deer in headlights. You're like, what's happening? What do I do? And then suddenly feel like, and everybody, and I think another thing that is key is, the influence of the people around you. Many times the people around you can either spur you on, encourage you to become more, or they can make you think that you're even doing too much. Why don't you step back a bit? We are here. Meanwhile, in the long run, it's not sustainable. They will be the ones that will consider you a burden. So I think influence also. Who are the people around you? Family, friends? What are they saying to you? What are you hearing on a daily basis? Are they telling you get up and go? Or are they telling you don't worry, lie down, I'll come and carry you? If you just stay there, wait for me. So these are some of the things we face. So women with disabilities really need to consider what is, I think one of the first steps, as we go into our next question is, what do you do? So we're going to be talking about, our next question will be addressing how women with disabilities can live independent practically, how they can begin to take that first step towards becoming more independent than they are. Like Preki said, there are some people that don't even know they could do these things. For me, I never had any formal rehabilitation, but Freki was doing remote rehabilitation for me because I had her as someone who had gone ahead. So all I did was, please, how do you do this one? And she'd be like, okay, she sent me diagrams, and that's how I taught myself. I self-rehabilitated. So you might not be able to afford a, formal rehabilitation, but you can start something. So my next question has to do with how capabilities in the family setting, in society for those who have left home, and wherever they may be, how can they begin to take steps to becoming more independent?
Yeah, just like in contrast to some of the issues we've raised, it will then be that as a woman with a disability, you need to rise above that disability. You need to rise above the fear, the doubts, the challenges, and try it. A trial will not hurt. A trial will not, kill you. A trial, if it's not working, you try something else. I know of women with disabilities that they're in their 50s and, they rarely go anywhere, even in the house. It's usually in their room. Probably some of them have all this living toilet, kitchens, and all. So it's something that you just need to try to do something for yourself. There's some kind of pleasure that comes along with when you do something and you're able to do it for yourself. You feel satisfied. You feel, you're no longer a burden, especially when it comes to that particular thing you've done for yourself on anybody. You have that satisfaction that even when you do not have external assistance, you'll be able to carry out that task effortlessly. So rising above the fear is just a thing of the mind. And, rising above, having conversations as well is one other thing. Having conversations with your caregivers. I've heard people ask, oh, as a visually impaired person, how do you take your bath? And I'm wondering if at this my age, somebody's helping me to take my bath. I don't know if I'll feel comfortable doing that. So it means that, and that's not to say we do not have some visually impaired persons that they will bring the potty to them in the room to probably have their bath and, pass out feces and all of that. So it means that having conversations with your caregivers, that they should allow you lay your hands on some of these things. Sometimes when you want to help yourself, they should allow you help yourself. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So start, make an attempt. And if in the process of the attempt, you fall like some of us, or, it doesn't work out, try something else. There's always a way. Find what works for you.
All right. Okay. So I'll just share a few. Number one, is what I'm going to say is seek knowledge, get information. Afyon shared how I used to send her messages. I know how I got those messages. I remember coming back and having absolutely no one to turn to initially, and was very confused on how to do a few things. So there were a lot of trial and errors. There was also, I remember then, and we're talking about the early 2000s and mid 2000s. We didn't have smartphones. So I remember that one of the key outings that I had was going to cyber cafe to browse information. Good. Just because I had that goal, that notion that I wanted to be independent, especially in my self-care. It was like a bone that I had to deal with. And so seek knowledge. And seeking knowledge means that you are intentional about it. So you're intentional about seeking knowledge. You can gain knowledge by, for example, researching like I did. You can gain knowledge by asking. I have seen that a lot of persons with disabilities are ashamed to ask fellow persons with disabilities who may be going through similar situations. I don't know why. I've seen that a lot among the females too. We don't want to ask. There's this, I don't know what's happening. But it doesn't help because you are dying in silence and maybe somebody has figured out a better way to get something done. So you can seek from, by asking questions from others who are going through similar types of disabilities or, stuff like that. And this is where support groups come in as well. If you have a support group or have ability to have access to a support group, either the support group is bound by gender or the support group is bound by type of disability, but going there wanting to learn to improve your disability experience. The next one I would like to say is this: be open to learning and unlearning. So I've seen this a lot. As persons with disabilities, as we go on with the journey, we have coping strategies. We've learned a certain way to do something. Even when somebody suggests maybe an easier way or better way, just because that's the one we know, we don't want to try any other way, even when it may be harming us. So be open to learning and unlearning. And then finally, for me, well, I could come back if you want, but finally for me will be, don't compare your level of independence with another person's level of independence. You see, the disabling process is not the same for two people. Even if two of you are having, for example, spinal cord, they diagnose the same thing on the doctor's notes, they wrote the same thing. The disabling process is not the same for both of you because of personal factors, because of social factors, because of environmental factors, so many factors. So don't compare your own level of independence with another person. That somebody is doing, and you're not able to pace yourself. Or let me add one more. One of the other ways is by setting goals, not necessarily large goals, small steps. I said that at the beginning that initially my goal was to get independent in the area of self-care. It was like a thing for me. I was like, nobody is going to stop their life because they have to come and help me do this and they have to help me do that. So set goals, independent goals, and begin to work slowly towards it and celebrate celebrate your wins as well. All right. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you. That comparison thing, it has a way of making you just like throw your hands up and like, I give up. I know they do again. What's going on here? But the fact is that no two journeys are the same. You might have the same type of disability, the exact same type of disability, but no two journeys are the same. So don't never compare what you're able to do or not do with what somebody else is doing. Just focus on getting better each day. Focus on being a better version of yourself each day. Each step you are able to overcome, stop and assess yourself and like, wow, look at where I was yesterday. Look at where I am today. Wow, I'm doing so good. And I know I'll get to wherever in the next step. So just focus on taking it step by step. Before we move to the next question, I just want to chip in. Some ladies with disability tend to focus on, the economic factor when it comes to independent living. Oh, I can't afford it. I can't do this. And, I need a lot of money to be able to. So what would you, just briefly, what would you want to say to such women?
I would say that such women can seek avenues by which to cut costs. I remember when blind persons started using phones in Nigeria, most especially, we were used to the CBN, especially the Nokia brand. And then these days, almost every available phone on shelf, has got an accessibility feature that enables us to use it. So it means that with time, if you keep digging, if you keep finding, if you keep looking, seek knowledge, ask questions, there would be cheaper and affordable ways by which you can carry out those tasks. It's all about asking questions and asking from the right quarters, just like Freke had advised.
Okay, so for me would be that seeking financial freedom is something you need to desire and work towards. It won't come from wishful thinking. Financial independence doesn't come from daydreaming about somebody coming to take all your sorrows away or coming to handle all your bills for you. Everybody has issues. So for me, I think it would be start from where you are. Start with where you are. Start with what you have. Find something to do. I think sometimes we want to be the business tycoon woman from the beginning. it may not work that way. But let it be that you find your hand to do something, no matter how small, and be consistent in doing it. Consistency pays a lot, so stay with it. Financial freedom, financial independence is a topic by itself, But one thing, like it can be very liberating. However, it's not an excuse to just sit down and say, "Hey, I cannot afford it." Therefore, in fact, what that does is that it increases your vulnerability. So all these useless men will not come and be confusing you. But let's not go there. Sorry, man. I didn't mean to go there.
No, I want to believe that we have the
needed
good
to
ones will be the ones
laugh
we
out
will meet,
loud.
not the other ones. Okay. No, but I
Especially
can
as
understand
shaking the
because
table.
that's where because that's where we have dependency, brings vulnerability. When you think about, the fact that you feel, oh, if I need somebody to help me, they don't help me, I can't. But that has to do with your mindset. Because starts with where you are. Even if you're living on those boundaries, starts with, asking for room to do things for yourself. Because even if you move out and suddenly someone was willing to pay your bills and sponsor everything, when you go out there, you will still be dependent because you still have that dependency mindset. You will want, you will sit there and call people to come and do things for you because you think you can't do it for yourself. So it's not about having money, it's not about moving, it's not a function of your location, it's a function of your mind. What do you believe you can do? All right. So now we're going to go into an experience sharing session. So I just want the ladies to share their own independent story, how they came from, just give us a brief view of how you started, and where you found yourself late, how you found yourself where you are today, and some key things that help you get to where you are today. So that, people won't think we're just talking, speaking grammar. No, we are sharing from experience. We know what we are talking about. We know where we've come from.
All right, thank you very much. So I've already shared some things that I did. Like I said, for me, and different stages of my journey have had me interpret independence differently, So for me, one of the key areas was in the area of, number one, self-care. I wasn't sure because with spinal cord injury, bladder management is different, bowel management is different, self-care is different as opposed to when you don't have spinal cord injury. So I had to start reading and asking questions. So one of the ways that I did it, like I said, at that time I didn't have access to rehabilitation, but I had access to to the cyber cafe. If I had no phone, phone, but you understand, no smartphones. So I went to the cyber cafe and I joined forums for persons with spinal cord injury. And I started asking questions. There were different forums like that. There were chat rooms, but they were just on topics. People ask questions about spinal cord injury. So what you're thinking of is if you go to a forum like maybe Nairaland, it was those kind of things, but based on spinal cord injury. So I would find them, read threads, find out how people are doing it, doing this thing, how is bowel management done, how is spine, this one done, how is pressure, because there are so many complications, how we to handle blood pressure, blah, blah, blah. I had to intentionally seek knowledge. I did all that. I had my days, cyber cafe days. So I would go out and go and sit down there a few hours and browse. I'm not browsing anything more than how to take care of myself better. So I had set goals. I set goals of independence because when I started out, I was completely dependent on people for self-care. But I set goals that I'll be able to do it. And I now found out that I needed to learn how to be effective in transferring myself. Like I said, initially I didn't have access to any form of rehabilitation, still had to browse it out, ask questions. As I continued to go out, I met one or two persons who had disability, because my world before disability was devoid of any persons with disabilities. I did not know where they were. So I now met one or two and ask questions, ask Auntie Ivy questions, ask Aisha questions. I actually remember one time Aisha actually came to the house, came to the room to show me how to do some very personalized things. Because I asked, she came and she showed me. So if you are living in a silo and saying, oh, they will look down on me, they will not understand, you would probably die in silence. So I asked questions. This is my practical self, asked questions, and then I practiced it. So I still remember when I was trying to do bath transfers. That one was scary because I thought I would just fall and hit my head. But but now I'm done. Woo! I can't enter any bath and come out. So I had to practice as well. So another thing is that I had to overcome the fear of having any form of accident when I go out. For those who don't know, as a brass spinal cord injury, maybe we'll have a topic on that so that people know that sitting on the wheelchair is not all that it's about. So, so I had to overcome the fear of going out because I had the concern that if I go out, oh, I'll be embarrassed in this way or embarrassed in that way. So I literally had to, because I found that if I don't go, I'll now be stuck at home a lot, and then I might miss opportunities. So I had to consciously not be afraid and learn to stay calm if I find myself in an uncomfortable situation. So these are a few things I have done to help be independent. Finally, just to help somebody in the area of financial freedom. I know it's not easy, but Tomisin said something that is very crucial. Cut your coats according to your life. Leave other people. Other people's life is not your life. Do those, those and save, don't be careless with finances. It has helped me also a lot. I don't say don't enjoy yourself. I like fine things, but where I don't need to, I don't. You can't even convince me. I don't care if what's on board is bone street. It doesn't matter to me. If you don't like the darling yaki, you can go and sleep. So that's me. I stay I'm very prudent. So these are some practical things that have helped me to independently live. Thank you very much.
All right, that was quite comprehensive. So if before now you had no idea, it's enough to get you started. So get information. And when you get information, don't just sit on the information, practice it. If you need demonstration, someone to demonstrate, you get someone to do so for you. Or everybody now there's access to the internet, go and check their videos that will show you how to do these things in case the one on, the written information is not clear. Watch videos, they will show you how to do it. Listen to people who have, had gone on this journey for years and, had some experience. Hear what they have to say. Just because we've done this thing for years does not mean we have stopped being afraid. There's always that fear of something going wrong, but we've learned how to manage those fears and oh, well, it goes wrong. Like you said, yeah, let's leave it there. We'll come back to it. Otaki, we're talking about sharing experiences of the disability journey and how you got from, when you started to where you are today. Some tips that helped you, some practical tips that help you to become more independent.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry for that interruption earlier. Okay, how some practical tips I use to get independence was one. I just told myself, being bold, like our name, but not as beautiful, but the bold word of being upright, trying to see how far you can go with disability. I think then it was graduation. I just love the khaki NYC uniform. When I see people wear it, they're like, I love this uniform. I like what they do. I don't even know how much it takes to wear it, but I just know that it's something positive. So the admiration of the khaki uniform was what really triggered me. So I never want to know any hindrance. I just know that one day I will wear it. So when it was time for admission and higher institution, I was just ready for it to. I knew there would be hurdles, but the fear was, I don't know, I didn't have any fear. I just felt that anyhow it is, one day I'll wear this khaki uniform. So I was ready to go out there because one of an uncle of mine told me, you that's going for admission, are you sure you're going to have job? I said, leave job for now. Job is not what I'm looking at. I just want to wear that uniform. And when I get to job level and we have a job, see that time, for now, let me just try and see how I can get the hurdle of wearing that khaki uniform. And again, I tried, so I told you I have mentors, I had people that already had challenges and they've gone far ahead of me. So I was looking up to them, and they'll tell you of the sad stories of along the line. So I was ready to face all of that. And because of the dream of where I want to be, it was what was driving me. And also, I wasn't scared to ask. Anyway, I just get stuck. How do you manage? How do you do? So that asking was not a problem. I can meet anybody anywhere and ask you questions. I could tell you, please assist me. So those hurdles were not my fears at all. And also, I wanted to have this pay my bills because I was scared of, can I really pay bills for myself one day? So all of that was what was really gingering me, that positive vibe of wearing NYC uniform, and one day at the end of the day, I'm going to pay bills for myself. So that pushed me a lot to do the things I needed to do, which at the end of today, I wore the khaki uniform and I paid my own bills. So that was to me a plus, and I was happy that I achieved those things. Thank you.
Wow. Wow. You see this motivation thing, it doesn't have to be a big thing. Oh. You don't need somebody to fall from the sky and motivate you. For Saki, all it took was a uniform. Khaki that some people will be like, I beg, I beg, I beg. But for her, that was what the key motivation she had. It made everything else seem like nothing because she was focused on getting to a place where she would wear that uniform. And no matter what anybody said, nothing else mattered. So sometimes you just need to find something that matters to you and tell yourself, I want to be able to do that. Just fix it. Then become obsessed with something that this, if I can just find myself able to do this, my life will be a whole lot better. So find something that motivates you. And for me, my experience was, like I said, when it happened at the beginning, it was like, everything had crashed. It was as if you were, a plane trying to, take off, and then suddenly it finds that there's no speed and then just finds itself back on the runway. And you're not falling gently on the runway, you crash. And you don't know which way is up. You don't know what's going on. So that was how it was at the beginning. I didn't know what to do. I had no one to reach out to. But I was fortunate in that at least I knew one person with disability, unlike Frecky. I knew one person with disability, which was Frecky, because when her accident, she was involved in that accident. I knew about it, I reached out. And funny enough, when you've never experienced something, I often found myself not knowing what to say to her. The few times we spoke on the phone, I refused to call because I was like, what will I say to her? What will I tell her? How do I even? So I refused to call. I didn't know my own calling card was on the way. And 2 years down the line, happened. And I was like, okay, if you didn't want to call Frecky, now you will call her. And I reached out immediately because there were so many things going on at that time. It was as if I was in a pot and someone was turning me like a mala. I didn't know, everybody was bringing suggestions, do this, do that. They are concerned, yes. But at some point, you try so many things that when I look back, I'm like, wow, was I mad? But you just need help, and sometimes you get it from the wrong places. So I reached out, got information, and Frecky was like she was just waiting to put all the research to work, and she was firing me with information, printing out documents, sending me my first ever intermittent catheter. She sent it to me, and she showed me, this is what you do. I had to go into it on admission in the hospital to learn how to use it. But no, let's not go into, when we talk about these things, so you'll be shocked at some of the things we've had to cope with. But today, it's something I can laugh about. If it happens, we shrug and move on. We've learned to move on because this is the price we pay for being independent. We need to move on. I don't see myself going back to where everybody, is waiting on me hand and foot. I don't see myself going back there. So you start from somewhere. You learn to own it, own the process, come up with what works for you, because what everybody else is suggesting might not work for you. Come up with what works for you. Find a way to get around those difficulties, and you'll be surprised at how far you will go. Today, I live on my own. On my own, I had to remove my bathroom door. Why? Unfortunately, house owners, they don't care if you're walking on crutches or walking on your head. They build their houses the way they want. So I had to take off the bathroom door. That was the only way I could get access. I made a ramp for my bathroom. That's the only way I could gain access, just because I wanted to be able to do this one thing for myself. All right, ladies, you've done amazing in contributing. Your input has been really, really useful. And I believe someone out there who is listening is picking up some very good tips, excellent tips on how to survive. So as to round up, as our final remarks, I'd like us to advise the women with disabilities out there. We've already told them tips, given them practical tips, shared our experiences. Let's talk to the family members, the government, the society. How can they help these women to be able to attain independence?
Okay, thank you very much. Oh, okay. Let me just mention this. I've had polio all through my life, like 4 decades now. So I live with family, but not really much. The few times I live with my family, I think should it's over now. That family should try and have this empathy, this love care of this is a human being, and one day we grow to have a life. So that sympathy of let me do everything for you should reduce, should even stop as life goes on, So the family should show more of love and more of trust that this person with a disability, this lady can live a life, can have a fulfilled life, and see how much they can gather or they can give. I never had that much, but I know of friends that had good family background, and I see how productive they did better. We have to just jump the hurdles as long as life concerned. With or without family, we just have to just jump it. But I insist on families to try and put more effort, because that's what keeps every lady or every child with disability to move faster and better. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much. So I want to speak to everybody and I'll do one. So for the family, I would say this, that don't think that in making a child with disability move towards independence as punishment. So that is not punishment. So when you're raising your children, try to raise your child with that mentality of independence. I've seen too many parents in this place of protection, they stop their child. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the hand, and you stop the child from washing plates. What are you doing? Other children are washing plates or things like that. And for real, it's not punishment. So you are the support system that child needs. So build that child's confidence to that place that the child is able to do anything. I saw a family where the mother refused to allow the girl. The girl had spinal bifida. So the mother now became overprotective, did not allow her to do anything. So as the child continued to grow up, because she already had an independent streak, by the time the mother comes back, she has done what the mother used to do for her. And the mother like, oh, so you can do it. And so like, that's what I've been trying to tell you, that I can do most of these things. The girl had to insist on doing a lot of that, especially with her self-care. By the time the mother goes, she has already, that wakes up, handles the other children, and comes and meets her. She finds out that she has had her bath and she has dressed up. And she's like, how did you do it? She's like, that's a teenager. She's like, I'm telling you that I can do these things. So, raise those children, be the support system, but don't take over. Don't do that. Don't take over. To society, I always said that when I was reintroduced into society, I used to have different looks from people. Some people look at me with sympathy, pity, yeah, see this fine girl on the wheelchair. They still do that. Other people look with disgust. They're like, what, this people have come again, this people have come again. While some people, they are confused. They don't even know what to think. So this is my take in society. When you see a person, don't see the wheelchair first. Just keep an open mind and try to engage with that individual on an individual basis. Trust me, it's easier. And we really actually don't need your sympathy. We need your empathy. Keep sympathy out of it, because sympathy makes you limit that person. Oh, can you do it? Are you sure you can do it? People will ask you that thing when you're trying and you say, are you sure you can do it? Trust me, that makes the person begin to doubt themselves. That's what I say, listen, I'm just doing James Bond. Can I really do it? And finally, to government, your job is to provide the systems that are enabling for all. And just let's do the right thing. As we transition into 2023, where we need to vote for our own, we'll do all that one in another episode. But as we do that, consider that we need inclusive government systems in this country that will allow the environment and systems to be enabling for all, so that we can be independent indeed. Not when somebody tries. something will just come and slam you and make you to now feel like, yes, in fact, you are the most invalid person in the world. Thank you very much.
Wow, that was very comprehensive. And I believe, as part of what, one pet peeve I have, one thing that really annoys me when it comes to, persons with disabilities or having independence is, when it comes to the structural barriers we face. If only the government would step up in their implementation of this discrimination act. How do you say so? You can't just write things on paper and expect people to go through with it. For example, when it comes to, accommodation, I believe that maybe the government can actually find a way to make sure that you have accommodation for persons with disabilities, maybe in each state, certain accommodation that persons with disabilities can access in each state, where they will probably maybe pay a minimum, less than what is on offer out there, or it's offered for like a transit point before they can, stand on their own. I think things like this can be done, because you pay exorbitantly for a house and you still have to spend money to restructure it to be able to, live comfortably within that house. Because nobody's going to do that. Nobody will use their private funds to build their house to suit you. So I think this is where the government can come in. And then so the society too. Yes, the government has said this is how it is. But if you find yourself in a position where the person with disability, comes to you, whether for employment, I think there are little things you can do out of common decency, little things you can do to actually say, okay, is there anything I can do to make this place better, more accessible for you? But it all starts with gaining that knowledge, because many of them don't even know. They just assume, well, it's not my fault now that you cannot walk. And that's where it ends. Nobody wants to take the time to get the knowledge they need to see how they can help. And to the family, one of the reasons, I had, that sense of overprotectiveness was there, the fear that I wouldn't be able to do anything when I had to move myself to another town. And this was the second time it was happening in my life. When I left school, I was tired of, being at home. I went as far away as possible where they would see me, to Boko Haram territory. Then when I now had disability, I had to come back home because of disability. And then they now said, everybody was like, hey, no. I was tired of seeing the four walls of the house. I decided to move to another town. I said, wherever the job comes, I'm going. My mother was like, hey, how will you do it? How will you survive? Today I'm surviving. I'm still here. So it is possible. Make room. Slowly, surely. Like the example Freki gave. These persons with disabilities, they want to try. But if you don't give them room to try, they will never know what they can do, and you will never know what they can do. It's not sustainable to make them dependent on you. You will get tired, and then you will begin to resent them. If you could walk, maybe I won't be carrying you to toilet. If you could do this, maybe I won't be doing this for you. You will get tired, no matter how much you love them. So the best you can do is give that person room. Let them fail. They will get up. When they realize that they have no one to hold on to, they will get up and they'll be determined to move forward and find a way out. As an example, recently I learned how to get in and out of my house. There's a step, there's an elevation in front of my main door. But recently, because I'm staying alone, I was tired of having to wait for someone to come in and help me out of my living room and then out of the veranda. So I was like, what if I need to get fresh air? Can't I step out of my house? I was tired of being limited to being indoors. So I went outside. There was nobody, as in nobody I could say, come, I'm falling. I just had to challenge myself. I said, if we fall anyhow, we will find a way to get up. If I don't hit my head, I'm okay. I went out, and now, there was that fear, but I had to do it afraid. I was afraid of falling backwards and hitting my head. But I was like, we have to do this thing. We won't know if we can do it if we don't try. And I flipped my front wheels up, put it on top. I was still shaking while doing it. But once I got the front wheels on top of the entrance, I now held the door frame and pulled myself in. And that's how I found out I could get in and out. And I was like, so I've been wasting my time all this while. And I could have been, enjoying myself. So now I know nobody can, there's this particular person that comes to pick me and he feels like he's doing me a major favor by coming in to help me out. So I just have to prove a point. So when he comes, I bring myself down, open the protector, then he helps me out. And the rubbish has stopped. So please, ladies, let us help ourselves. Start somewhere. No matter your disability, you can do something. If you need encouragement, go online, research people with similar conditions, watch videos, and you'll be amazed at what people, are doing. So please, let's help ourselves. And, with these amazing tips we have brought your way, the examples, we have not just come to, preach to you, we have come to share with you. We have shared our lives with you and what we've gone through. And I believe this is enough to encourage someone out there to take the first step. So please, we would, go out there. We look forward to hearing your testimonies of what you've been able to do. We would appreciate it if you could get back to us and, drop it in the comment section, send us an email. If you go to our Facebook page, Bold Hearts Network, you will find, the information you need. You can, send us, testimonies of what you have attempted and overcome. And believe me, we will celebrate with you and you will feel better about yourself. To our online audience, we want to say a big thank you. You have been the reason that we keep coming back every Saturday because we know you are there waiting to watch and learn. So we are happy, we are glad that you're always there, you tune in. And we are soliciting for you to share this video as you watch. Please share widely on all your platforms. Share with as many people as you know. Someone out there needs to hear this. So share the video. You want to partner with us financially, please, we welcome such partnership. You want to come on the program, you have suggestions on what we can do to improve, please send it across. We are willing, we look forward to your feedback. So I'll just tell the ladies here, please unmute yourselves and let's say our goodbyes until we come your way next week, Saturday, 10:30 a.m. on this same station. Please do join us. So bye-bye, see you. We look forward to hearing those amazing testimonies.